So today I've been fortunate to be able to track down, get my hands on Miss Simphiwe Dludlu, whose analysis I caught while watching the Champions League final. She was sitting in the studio with Mr. Sean Bartlett, and one great. Stanton Fredericks, a great at Wits University and Kaiser Chiefs. But coach, I must say, your analysis on the day was perfect. Welcome to our interview today.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well. I'm so happy to be able to have tracked you down and spoken to you because I was watching the Champions League final last week. It was obviously not a great game for South Africans in one way, but also a good game. But I just thought your halftime analysis was very, very good.
Thank you so much. If you would have seen the build-up of the game, it was hard for me to even predict who's going to win because I felt South Africa was the winner on the day with Coach Peter of Al Ahly and Kaiser Chiefs of South Africa. But it's the opportunity I'm always afforded to talk football because it's who I am and it's what revolves around me. So I learn every day. Sometimes you get critics, but I take it with a chin up and try to be better every time. I think what makes it easy is the fact that it's football that we are talking about. And I have a bit of an idea what I'm talking about because I've played the game myself. I know the emotions. I mean, somebody asked me, even the presenter, Julia Stewart, asked me and she said, "How are you feeling?" I said, "My knees are shaking as we speak because I know the feeling of standing in front." Well, there wasn't a crowd, but in such an auspicious day, it's a final. Kaiser Chiefs could have ended themselves a star. Al Ahly was looking for their 10th. So it was nerve-wracking for me as a coach, as an ex-player. So yeah, it was really interesting to be able to just break down the round of play and be able to articulate and explain to the viewers at home because that's our jobs. We need to just break it down for my grandmother, for my grandfather who's at home watching to understand what the game is about.
Well, you broke it down so elegantly. It was so easy to understand. And actually, that's what attracted me to stay on and half time and listen
I'm
to the
glad.
analysis. But let's go into coach. Tell us, how did you get started in football?
I'm born and bred from Alexandra. It's a township just across the bridge of Senton, which is the hub of the economy as well in Joburg. You know, um, and in the streets, that's where it all started with my brothers, with my friends. To say when I got tired of playing with the dolls, with the girls, I just moved across to play with the boys. That's how it started. And from there, went into school, still played with the boys even in school until I found a girls team, and then I joined a girls team. Then into high school, the rest was history. That's how it started. And then I got afforded the opportunity to be at the High Performance Center, which is the South African Football Association, SAFA, Girls Academy, Football Academy. That's where I work now. In 2004, I was there as one of the players. So the journey began for me to see what professional football looked like for women. Got into the under 20s, got into Banyana Banyana, and the rest was history.
You've got a huge thread of history there of how your game started, coming up from very young, playing through all the different levels, which is very important for anybody wanting to integrate into the sport and do well. But now when you get into the professional ranks, how different was it for women's football in the professional ranks?
Look, growing up, I didn't even know that women's teams existed. Hence, I started with the boys team. And having to be at the High Performance Center in 2007, in 2004, you get there, it's a gold medalist lifestyle center. Olympic athletes go there to prepare for the Olympics. Casta trains there, Akani trains there. You can count all of them. And when I got into that facility, it's based at the University of Pretoria. When I got into the facility, I was wowed by that. That's the first thing. Because in the township, we play in the streets. If there's a field, it has semi-grass and all of that. There's no proper coaching where you have a head coach, assistant coach. And being part of that setup allowed me to go to school. In the mornings, would wake up, go train, come back, freshen up, go to class. When you come back from school, it's football again in the afternoon. Now I'm in the gym, you know. But what prepared me for that setup was playing for RAU, which is University of Johannesburg now. When I played in that team, we were doing scientific testing and all of that. Then I got an idea to say, oh, so this is what professional setup looks like. And then when I got into the academy, everything was now broken down even further for me to understand being in such a world state of the art facility and compete with other young girls that were great. Some were even better than me at the academy from all over South Africa. That for me said to me, I cannot pass on this opportunity, but mine is for me to work hard and make sure I make my parents proud at home, make myself proud, and be something out of this. This is inspiring me. There's no way that I will allow myself not to succeed in any way.
So you talk so great about your development in the game. Now I can see yourself where all these platforms are for you to kick on into the professional game. You end up playing quite a lot of games for Bafana. You've got one goal at the national team. Some of the coaches that I've spoken to at RAU, at Tux, at the universities where I have friends who are coaching women's football, spoke about your defensive work as well as a player. What then brought you into coaching?
Wow, you did a lot of digging.
Well, listen, coach, you know, if I'm going to be speaking to someone that's on the platform, I've got to be ready.
Well, being exposed to HPC, being in the under 20s and the under 17s, I got quality coaching. Even before getting into those setups, the coach that helped and developed me as a young player in the township, he knew exactly what he was doing. You know, even with limited resources that he had, I knew what it meant to be coached properly. And with my personality, everything just came together. But the reason I got into coaching was that I was amazed to find women that were coaching. Anna Munati was my coach at the High Performance Center. Cheryl Botes was my coach at the High Performance Center in the national teams. And I said, if there's women that are this brilliant and they're in coaching, one day I'd want to be a coach and do exactly what they do if I don't do it 10 times more. Because the support, the coaching, the development that I got, I would want to be a part of the process. And there and then I made up my mind, and I was still playing, mind you. So in my playing days, I was one of the players that were such a leader in the team. You'd find me coaching and giving instructions while I'm playing, you know, so I knew destiny was a green light for me to be in a coaching space. That's how I started. But yeah, like I say, more than anything, all the coaches that coached me were great, brilliant coaches that really said to me, certified, you can go into coaching.
Now, women's football is starting to really take off, and really get a better branding around the world, which is rightly so. And you tweeted something out, maybe I think yesterday or today, where you said, and I'm going to quote it: "This is my line. Don't just put us anywhere to tick a box." And I liked that a lot. You're not just there to say, "Well, I'm a lady coach. Respect me as a coach." The last
Period.
period. Not as a female
Period.
coach, as a coach.
As a coach.
So have you
Period.
had any difficulties in becoming a respected coach, which you are, within the game, and how did you overcome those?
Look, some of the challenges is vying for the same position, or even you are more qualified as a coach, you do so much work, but you don't earn the same salary or even more because you're a woman. Yes. You know, those were some of the challenges, you know, past employers and all of that. I've faced all of that. And sometimes when you sit down and you talk about football, your opinion is not even valued as much because you're a woman. What do women know about football? I've had a coach who was a competitor in one of the league matches when I still used to coach at the University of Pretoria. And he said, I won't be beaten by a woman, never mind a coach. I called my players immediately. I told the goalkeeper to sit down. I called the team and I said, this guy thinks because we are women and he's a man coaching a women's team, he's better than us. And they said, coach, let's show him what women can do in football. And it speaks to the psyche. Otherwise, I would have been upset and tried to, insult him and all of that, but I knew where to channel my energy. That is important for us as women to say, ours is not to compete against men in football, but to complement what they've built. Truth be told, I mean, in Africa, mostly it comes from men, where we've seen men play football and then we got onto it. But obviously in England, it's the same. Women were better footballers before the FA banned women's football. And otherwise, we would be leading in this sport that is called football if we were not banned from playing football from 1800s and all of that, So for me, even to date, you still find that you find a women's team is playing or is on the field, and then a men's team comes and says, but they're women, they can just have a quarter, let's have the rest of the field. You still face it to date, and we still fight those battles because lack of resources is something that is real. Now, when it comes to women, access to those resources, it's even difficult for us, So my motto has always been that don't put me there to tick a box because I'll surprise you. I have more, And I think it's also a message to women also to say, don't just say, they must hire me because I'm a woman. Prove your worth, It must, if it happens that they are placing you there because you're a woman to tick a box, show them why they must tick more boxes of quality women that must be placed there, So, and if they just tick a box, they are ticking it to say, all women fail if one fails. If you've seen in the comments there, somebody did say, then when one woman fails, they say all the women are like that. It's unfair. Even in women's sports that are designed by women, you still find men that are dominating them because of the stereotype that's there, which is unfair. So I think my advice and word out there to women out there is to say, let's keep proving our worth. Let's keep showing men that we can coexist in sport, be great with them, because if we try to compete, inferior complex will jump in and will always be oppressed. But if we find a way to be better without fighting or saying anything, but showing our worth, then it becomes even better for us to fight a winning battle. I'll never say a losing battle. It should be a winning battle. So yeah, that is for me. Even when you hire me, I say, are you hiring me because of the coach that I am, not the woman that I am? So I still applaud men that are coaching women's football because a lot of them groomed us, recognized our talent. They've been supportive. I look at my husband now. He protects my thoughts, how I think and all of that, because he says, I know your value and I will help you and I'll push you as much as I can because you're a coach first before being a woman.
Mm. Well, you've come across so passionately there. And as a father of a daughter myself, where you want the person's insight and thinking to be respected, not just always looked at the agenda and being put in a box. I really hope that you can pioneer this more within South Africa, that the game gets the level of respect that it deserves. Because, as I said to you, um, just listening to you the other day and how you came across and how knowledgeable you were about the game is what actually attracted me to try and track you down to have this conversation with you today. So that is fantastic, coach. But moving on from there, your expectations as a coach, what are you expecting for yourself, for your career moving forward?
I want to empower other women out there to be great at what they do, to aspire to be great at what they do, from administrators to coaches to physios to anybody that is involved in sport, even in different sporting codes. It's not a want, it's a need for them to excel at what they do, to keep breaking boundaries. Never take no for an answer, but it can be a not yet, because the time is not right for you yet. I want them to be 10 times better than me. That's what I'm aspiring for. I want them to see how they can also influence the next generation of players and next generation of administrators, coaches, and all of that. With the opportunity that I'm still given to be in the national team, I'd want to impart as much knowledge as I can to help empower those around me, gain also experience and knowledge from those around me, so that we keep producing quality players that can compete anywhere in the world. Because for me, we don't work with athletes, we work with human beings first. So I'd want those that work with me, around me, to understand that element, that be a human being, understand you work with human beings first, because those young players must be citizens of the world. They must be better citizens of society because you build into them so that the future belongs to them. They can be better as well. You know, I'd want to see more players playing overseas, having financial freedom, financial literacy, be able to own who they are. I'd want to see them in the Olympics, in Euro Champions League. I'd want to see them conquering anywhere in the world because it's possible. It's a matter of somebody believing in their dreams. And for me personally, I'd want to go above where I am right now. I'd want to see myself being overseas, earning more money, being able to touch more, be exposed to more resources, be exposed to more knowledge, because sometimes being in a limited space of resources and exposure can hamper your growth as well. So those are my aspirations as an individual.
So you just touched on, and we're going to go into two questions here. The first one I want to talk about is you spoke about players abroad, and you want more players to grow abroad. Now, at this moment in time, we got one of our experienced national team players in Janine van Wyk, who's playing abroad. But there's also a young lady. You still there, coach?
Yes, I'm still here.
There's a young lady by the name of Tembi, and ngiyacela ukusiza isibongo. I'm struggling, please.
Tembi Khatlana.
Tembi Khatlana, yes.
Yes.
Yes. And now Tembi is playing for Atletico Madrid as well, which is an unbelievably big team in Europe, the women's team as well. In your under 17 ranks at the moment, do you have any pearls that you think could take that next step?
Let me break it down. Tembi, Linda, come from the High Performance Center. When I was still a volunteer for the academy, they were players I coached there. And seeing them grow to be where they are today is incredible for me. They went to the same school as me. They've undergone almost the same processes as me. They went through the under 17s, the under 20 national teams, and into the senior. They are overseas. Linda plays in Sweden. Tembi is in Atletico Madrid, very level and knows exactly what she wants. I have two players that came from the 2018 World Cup in Uruguay. They went on to be in the under 7 in the senior team. They went to France in the World Cup. Right now, one of them is Karabo Dlamini, is overseas studying in Oakland University because she got scouted at the World Cup in Uruguay. Sibulele Holweni was a top goal scorer in COSAFA. Those players are players that I'm happy to look at and say at 14, at 15, they were in my hands at the High Performance Center, through to under 17, through to under 20. Now they are senior players. Another one that was in University of Ohio comes from the under 17 from Cape Town, is Shakira O'Malley, is now studying in America. There's young ones that come through from the under 17s. Jessica Wade is one of them, who was the best player in COSAFA, is an incredible talent. And I will not take all the credit because the coaches that scouted them from an early age, the parents that invested the time, the money, resources to make sure these players get to that level. I had a short stint, it might be 4 years, that I was part of their journey of growing football. And I look at them and I say, tireless nights are paying off. Some of them will not make it into the under 20, but years to come, they'll make it into the senior team because there's a seed that we planted there. And for me, success is not only seeing them play overseas, but success is them being able to be great human beings, do well academically, do well in terms of sport, and be something in life, you know. So mine is not only to look at one player and say, definitely this one. I try to invest across the board and influence as much as I can. And they know my motto is we don't stop when we are done, but we don't stop when we are tired, but when we are done. So for me, I can't give you one name and say, I'm specifically looking at this player to make it but the few that I've mentioned is players that I know they work tirelessly, they take advice, they are hard on themselves because they want to succeed, they want to be better. There's a whole list of them that are out there. I've seen the Shamasa twins. If you go check on the net, you'll find them. The Shamasa twins from Sunflower Women's Football Club, they are incredible. There is another club that is making sure that they add value to women's football in South Africa. You find Mamelodi Sundowns, you find JVW, you find a lot of teams in Cape Town. Cape Town Roses is there as well. Right now in the Eastern Cape, there's a lot of young players that are coming up. Some we disturbed by the COVID because if we would have qualified for the World Cup, you would see what I'm talking about, because some of them are now graduated into the senior teams in the country playing in the women's league. So my job is to do that, is to make sure that I recognize, I see the talent, and I push it as much as I can. I empower them as much as I can, so that those pearls are able to just be found floating. Some of them you have to dig deeper into the sea. But if there's ones that we are launching out, that they are popping out, they're floating on the sea, it's a matter of them being caught and made to flourish.
You've mentioned a vast array of talent and the impact that you are and other coaches are having with these young ladies moving forward. But thinking of you specifically now, because you are making this impact with these athletes, you definitely are. Are you looking at progressing through the ranks of the national team to potential higher part, maybe later on as the Banyana coach?
The question would be, if I move up, what difference would it make for me in terms of growth of my career, in terms of financially, in terms of maybe more opportunities? Those would be the questions. But a space where I'm supported financially, in terms of resources as well, in terms of exposure, in terms of growing to be great, I would move anyway. And when the time is right, that's where you are able to move and say, this is the best under-17 coach ever to exist. It could be my journeys there with youth development. I could be moving to under 20. I could be moving to Banyana Banyana one day when the time is right. I mean, Coach Desiree is doing an incredible job right now with Banyana Banyana. So for me, I'm not even looking at that. I'm looking at being the best coach, being able to empower, unearth talent, nurture talent as much as I can wherever I am, more than anything. That's why I'm saying the difference would be financially, what would it do for me? Because we are in two different parts of the world in terms of doing things. Overseas, you find that youth coaches are more valued than elite coaches because they do more of the work. But in Africa, it might be vice versa. So that's why I'm saying it's a tricky question. It's a tricky aspiration as well. But you need to be authentic about it. You need to be realistic about it. And as a person, definitely I'd want to grow. You'd find that I might end up at Chelsea, which is one of the best clubs in the world, as a youth development coach. I'm still at youth, but it's a different stage altogether. So those are the things you look at. I could be at Arsenal one day. I could be in America one day. I could be anywhere in the world where I'll have the opportunity to be pushed to a particular level of knowledge, of coaching, of experience as an individual. So anywhere where God places me one day, I'm always grateful, because it's an opportunity to be better, empower others, and be empowered as well.
Now, you spoke so much about where the young girls are and doing well within the country, but the one place you didn't speak about is Pietermaritzburg, where I'm from. Mgungundlovu. Please, what are you all finding in my neighborhood that can contribute to this team? I would love to know that there are young girls in that area doing well.
Listen, KZN has always been the hub for me in the under-17 teams, 2016, 2018, 2020, unfortunately. But I've had incredible players coming out of there. That's why I'm saying Sunflower, Lindelani as well. Those are the two leading clubs that are always nurturing young players that are coming from KZN. And I know they're not just looking at one area in KZN. I've actually recently compiled a list of players, and Pietermaritzburg came up out of that as well. So KZN is represented in every division. Right now in the Banyana team, there's players from KZN. In under 20, even in history, there's been players that come from KZN. So I'm saying KZN, the Western Cape, Gauteng have been three leading provinces when it comes to nurturing talent and having a bigger pool of players that are coming out. The other provinces are catching up, but with COVID, amateur football suffers a lot more. So we haven't been able to go out there, have tournaments, scout and see players from there.
Coach, you've been very gracious with your time to talk so elegantly and so broadly about football, your career, where you want to take it, and also the work you're doing behind the scenes with these fantastic athletes. I want to say thank you for your time today. Um, I feel from just listening to you that if my daughter was playing football, she would be safe in your hands and in the structure's hands. There's the other thing, not just yours, the structure. I want to say thank you for coming on and talking to us.
Thank you very much, even though now you can only see my teeth.
No, it doesn't matter. You're the first interview. Let me tell you, there's two firsts. You are our first female coach we've ever interviewed, which I'm so privileged to do, number one.
Yay!
But you're the first person we've interviewed outside. Oh, man, it's brilliant. Originality. And honestly, like I live in the United Kingdom at the moment. And just to be able to see behind you reminds me and makes me long for South Africa. So thank you so much for this brilliant talk outside.
Thank you very much.
I hope you have a beautiful evening to you and your family. Have a fantastic day.